All right, welcome everyone to another edition, an early edition of Deconversion Stories. Today is over dramatization over here. Today we're talking with with Paul Dervis from across the pond over in Britain there. So we have to do it a little earlier so that poor Paul doesn't have to stay up till 2 in the fucking morning talking to us. So basically, that's why we're doing it earlier today. And Paul, I'm not sure. I didn't even ask you, to be honest. After the interview, we usually do a bit of an after party, and I generally say, you should jump in for a little bit. And I know it'll be getting late by the time we're through with all this, but if you could, you jump in for a bit, and then just bail when you're like, I can't keep my eyes open anymore, you guys. So I'm leaving. So.
It's only 9 o'clock for him. He'll be fine.
No, it should be 8 o'clock. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Right, for the after party, I mean.
Oh, well, yeah, 9.
So it's at 9. It's 9:30. It's fine. Extra glass of wine. What's
There you go.
all out.
Which reminds me, we do have a drinking game here, although albeit I'm still on the coffee. So, yay, Timmy's. So whenever you see the hashtag coins pop up below, because my phone likes to make the Mario coin noise when I get notifications, so we turned that into a drinking game. So if you
because it happens so frequently,
it does too.
You need an excuse to drink,
and or if you don't drink, like my very good friend Ollie, who will probably be in the after party with us, you have a Coke instead. But yeah, so that's how we do things. And anyways. I should have done this right away. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm honored to be here.
Well, thank you. And I think we'll have some fun today. What we do is we chat with folks about how they found their way free from their previous belief systems, whether it be religious or otherwise. Like, as I've said before, I've even had ex-white supremacists on here before that changed their views and everything. So, which was kind of interesting. Anyway, what I generally ask is you kind of take us on that little bit of a journey, go back to the days when you were sort of in the indoctrination process as a youngster, and the questions that came up, and nobody was giving you any answers that you liked and stuff like that. And then ultimately how you're like, you know what, I'm discarding this crap and I'm gonna dig my way out.
It came really from normal child. My parents weren't. This is England, so it's not heavy shit, so basically what happened was that my father was a spiritualist. Now that I think means different things in different places, because I've heard.
Sure. Yeah.
But a spiritualist in England is a Christian spiritualist, so big cross, and I used to put the big cross on when I was a child on the wall of the church, which was like a hall. Mm-hmm. But and basically, what happened during that service was like there's Lord's Prayer and a sermon which was called address, hymns, and then there was a clairvoyance, which is like the dead talking through the medium. Which is
what?
Yeah,
y'all did this every week.
Yeah, every week. And it was a different medium, as they were called, every week. And so there were some famous ones who used to sort of go into trance during certain times, which was.
What's
time out? You would go every week. A ghost showed up to talk through somebody every week. Like that, there was like, dang, couldn't get no ghosts this week. Like they always had a ghost.
Yeah. And they I'd pick on you in the audience, in the back of the crowd, and say, look, I see an old woman here. Whatever. Something beginning with R or whatever.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. Oh, it's so fucking lame.
Yeah, it never a car registration or something,
Yeah.
No.
But I grew up with that completely, and my father was one of the mediums. Okay, so he got really quite well after I went to university. He got quite big, and he used to tour around the UK as well. So yeah,
only one that could ever teach you, Neil.
Yeah, and trance. I've seen my father in trance. My father was a wonderful man. Both of my parents are wonderful, but my father, in trances, he had like some African guy who used to come through called Tambula, and his voice went really, really low all the time. And then there was he had a small kid called Akim who his voice would go really, really high.
No,
of course
way.
Yeah.
Apparently, Akeem never hit puberty. Is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, I think so.
It's a very small voice.
Yeah, very small voice. But it was very strange. And because it was my father, obviously I was heavily impressed that there was people talking through him, and he said to me, that he wasn't putting it on, but whatever, I don't know.
I almost believe sometimes that these people, these so-called mediums and stuff, like James Von Prague or whatever, that guy's such a scam artist. But anyways, I have a feeling sometimes they literally have convinced themselves that they can do this.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a lot of it. But obviously I was at school. I didn't have to go. Like my brother and sister didn't go to the church, but every Sunday it was a Sunday service, but Tuesdays it was like healing, which is like laying on of hands. It wasn't like faith healing because there was no faith involved. Supposedly it was just think white light coming into you and blue light going through your hands.
I've heard this before. Yes.
And there was heat. Now, presumably that's friction,
Yeah.
Like,
your heat also radiates. Your body also radiates heat constantly. So
yeah. So, but that, I mean, it was good that you sort of closed your eyes for 10 minutes and stuff. So and you relaxed. So there was something to it. But
I mean, hey, they say, hey, just like totally vibe out and maybe fall asleep.
Yeah.
Could be worse. Get relaxed and go to sleep. All right.
It was quite interesting.
All right.
But I also saw years ago when I was about 11 or 12, I went to see a big guy called Harry Edwards in UK, and this was a big, very famous guy then. And basically, he would get people out of wheelchairs, cure deafness, and like in a big hall with thousands of people. So
wow, sounds like Popoff.
Yeah, I had no idea if it was just fake, but whatever.
Well, Peter Popoff used to do that sort of stuff too until James Randi exposed him.
Yeah.
Yet today, people are still going to Peter Popoff, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Hi, Bree. So it's it kind of blows me away that people, even after someone's been exposed, that they will still follow this kind of nonsense, believing that there's some form of reality to it, which is just crazy in my mind.
It was quite weird. Looking back at my childhood, it was quite bizarre, really, in those ways. But of course, it was normal to me. But there was some mediums who I really liked. There was one guy who was sort of science-y type. He was an artist as well. He would see
like a Deepak Chopra.
Yeah. So he would a bit of Buddhism, a bit of chakra, and then he would basically draw your guide, your spirit guide. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I had a little Indian. It's always a Native American, isn't it? Then it was called Indian.
Right.
And then and then there was some professor guy with a beard. Whatever. But my father, it was strange because my father and my mother had these paintings, and my father's like an Egyptian, and it was proper paint, oil paint. And then there was this little old lady behind had a dream about him turning into a Egyptian person, and she came around the house and saw this painting and freaked out. Absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah.
How come?
I don't know, because that was what she saw in her dream and she didn't know who my father was. You see, my father was a policeman, right? Copper, as we say in England.
Bobby.
The Razas.
Yeah. So that was quite odd, yes. But I, as you know, I now sort of run a science company. So basically, what happened in my education, as I went to senior school, high school, as you would call it, I was doing more and more science, and so that there was a lot of dissonance there, as you can imagine. Going.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that had a part in your sort of realization that maybe these things that you were taught weren't quite so true?
Yeah. It was strange, and obviously I never was really into the Christian stuff, because there was sort of Christian bits, and then there was like the clairvoyance seemed like evidence. Okay. Yeah. So to me that was like, oh, I'm only interested in this evidence type stuff, because I thought the Bible was trash then, even when I was religious. So.
Did you ever try to put any of that stuff to the test, wherever it is that you're working with the science stuff?
No, not really. That's not mine. But no, it's all I suppose it's psychology. But I mean, most of the people were good people, and they meant well.
Oh, sure.
And certainly my father meant well. There's no question. But then he would spend so much money going around churches when he was older and take no money for it to do this. And you think, well, strange.
Well, that's actually when you say that, I'm like, oh, well, that's good, because that means he wasn't really a scammer, because he probably believed that he was really doing this stuff. And I remember being involved in that sort of stuff myself for years back in my earlier days in the late 20s, early 30s sort of stuff, where I became a Wiccan. And I remember that we always used to say that if you're going to do this stuff for people, you can't really expect money for it. You can say you can make donations to my whatever, but you shouldn't ask for money, because it's a gift to you. So you're supposed to give it as a gift type thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably the idea that he had in his head too, I would imagine.
I mean, he had a strange childhood, because basically what happened to him, he got really bad arthritis, and he couldn't walk, and he couldn't use his fingers. But he then was taken by his aunt, who was a heavy spiritualist, to the seaside for the summer, and somehow it all got cured.
Really?
So obviously he looked at his aunt, who was a spiritualist, and said, "Wow, here we go. There must be something in it." But again, what happened? Of course, I have no idea what exactly happened. Right. But that really affected him. And when he came out of the forces, and then he was in the army, in British Army, and then he became a policeman. That's when, and he had children. That's when he went back to that. He kept, he thought about those things. So yeah, there's reasons, I suppose.
That could be quite convincing to somebody who's been suffering from any form of ailment, really, and then to have it sort of just suddenly disappear. I mean, clearly there are reasons behind that aren't supernatural, but still, I mean, if you don't really think in that mindset, and you've got people around you that are spiritualists and they're constantly feeding you information, then you're most likely to conclude that that's probably why you were healed, right? So I could see that for sure.
And I still grew up with that. Yeah, that was the story, and that happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Aunt Sissy was done. That was it. She healed him. Done. That was it.
Oh wow. Okay.
That was the story.
Is your dad still among the living?
No, sadly, he died just before COVID. But that was actually a blessing, because he had a huge funeral, which I talked at, and of course during COVID he had like 6 people and a dog. So it's. He died at the right time.
That was definitely one of the low things about COVID, is the suggested inability for family to get together for things like that.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, and that was very hard. I mean, he was hugely important to me in my life, but obviously that he became much less as he got older. He stopped doing it. So, but his my stepmother is still quite into it.
What did he ever go into any reasons as to why he kind of held or pulled back from that?
No. Obviously, maybe it was with me as well, because he knew I was into science more and more and more. So I think that also, and I became quite aggressively anti anything supernatural. So
right.
Yeah, and he realised that, I think. So he kept quiet, I think. But yeah, he certainly stopped doing it. But I suppose he was old. So.
Yeah, he probably. Well, I mean, when you're doing it for most of your life and you're believing it for most of your life, I'm sure you just kind of you're set and you're good, and you don't really need to talk about it anymore. Especially if you're at an age where maybe your mobility isn't what it used to be, and you don't get out enough, so you kind of probably pull back on all that. But shit, I had some
really weird shit.
Yeah, fuck. I had something I was going to say, and it just fell out of my head. Up too late, up too early. That's my problem.
What time is it early? Is it really early though, or what?
Well, it's noon. It's like almost 20 after 12. So, but I was up till almost about 1:30 in the morning last night here, and then I went to bed for a little bit, and I was up by probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. So, barely got my 8 hours and whatnot.
My daughter is 11 weeks old. What the hell is sleep?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's nasty. But I must admit, I've just come back from India and Sri Lanka.
Ooh. And how was that?
That was cool. Yeah, it's work, business. But
Oh, okay.
that was quite hard. And then I was in Germany last week, so it was like India, Sri Lanka, Germany. And so I'm like, relax.
Yeah, relaxation mode.
Yeah.
I just heard, actually, I just read today that India has now pulled evolution and stuff like that out of their school curriculum.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah,
There's
like,
a lot of religion
what?
there.
It's not like they have like 1 billion people.
Yeah.
It's not like
But
it's going
they-
to spread to a lot of people. You know, it's a very sparsely populated area, so it's not going to have a big effect.
No, you're talking about Canada there, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we have there's a lot of Christians actually on the coasts of India because that's where the Christian missionaries went. So
Yeah.
Goa is Portuguese, and obviously a lot of it. Obviously, the British owned it for many years, but
Yes.
but the Hindus and the Muslims are in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty heavy shit. Yeah,
They have
Very
apparently.
boiling hot with Santa. There's Santa Claus, and it's boiling hot in December. It's utterly weird.
So Santa shows up there in a Borat bikini. Is that what you're saying? Instead of the warm thing, the mankini thing he's got there with his little hat on. And the reindeers who've decided to shave themselves because it's like 8,000 degrees over there.
Yeah, well, it was 43, which you don't understand. That was like 120 or something.
Oh, well, I understand because I'm Canadian. We use metric.
Yeah.
So
43.
Whatever the hell metric is.
it's a foreign word in the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, if you have anyone to blame for, I don't know, the imperial system that we use, I
Yeah, I wonder who that was.
wonder.
Freedom units.
But then they stop using it, and then now they just make fun of us for still using it, and it's such bullshit. Like, you got us started on this, and then you just switched it up on us.
Yeah, it's quite strange. Well, in England, it is quite weird because quite often for hot, we'll use Fahrenheit, but for cold, we'll use centigrade, which does make no sense.
That's weird, eh?
Like, that is a lot of that, yeah. A lot of that.
We just use centigrade here all the way around.
Good. Well, you see, but in Canada, it doesn't get very hot, does it? Or does it?
Well, yeah, it certainly can, especially
Okay.
here on the West Coast.
Okay.
We had a couple of summers ago, we had something that they termed a heat dome, and it hung over here, this mass of hot air that literally, it was 34, 35 degrees here on the coast, and it was going into the 40s in the valley, and there were like people that were quite old that were dropping like flies because of the heat, which is horrifying, but it does happen because we get hot here.
First ever time in the history of England that we had 40 degrees was last year. So
Wow, yeah,
climate change, there you go.
yeah. No, climate change is a hoax. Come on.
I have so many nuts on Twitter. Some of them follow me as well, which is quite scary.
Oh no.
Flat earthers. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I've been getting them following me lately for some fucking reason, like nut job Christians and flat earthers and people that think that there's a firmament over the earth. And I'm like, why are you following me? I'm not going to make you happy.
And all the other planets are spherical, but not the Earth. Okay.
I'm not the droid you're looking for.
Yes, that's right. And the planets aren't spheres. They're not even real. Come on.
They're just lights in the sky.
Lights. Yeah. Lights in the sky.
Hilarious.
When so as I got scienced, as it were, educated in science, all sort of things went. But then, like most scientists, certainly in England, I don't know about the States, but most scientists are certainly at least agnostic or don't give a shittest, as I say, you know. And which was me. I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And then Mr. Dawkins wrote The God Delusion, which sort of slapped me around the face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have that book as well. Although I'm kind of not really a huge fan of his recently these days, anyways, because of the.
He's a very old guy now. Yeah, he's very old. And he's done a lot for atheism. So the problem is, of course, you can't agree with everything, and you don't need to agree with everything. Yeah, and he's an idiot on certain topics, sure, but the God Delusion changed millions of people's lives.
Yeah,
certainly in like India and stuff, Bangladesh, where you're not allowed to be atheist, you'd be shot.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Bangladesh, they'll machete you. Nice.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go.
Wow.
Mhm.
So when you did you tell them you were what, agnostic or something, or
I didn't tell
is there a same penalty for agnostics or?
No. But what it's like was Dubai as well, Dubai and all around there because I stop off there in Dubai or Qatar on the way to India, and he says,
Mhm.
"Shall I go on Twitter now, or will some policeman arrest me?"
You're gonna hack you in the head. Oh wow, man. See, and I thought
So,
Dubai was I don't know why, but I was under the impression that Dubai, being as modernized as it is, and all the cool ass little man-made islands that they have there and stuff, I thought they were a little bit leaning more to the you just be you kind of liberal. So I guess
No.
not, eh?
They have
Yeah,
slaves.
Wow.
what they're talking about now, that is them being loosey goosey.
Oh fuck me.
That is the lightening up because the younger guy is in charge now. So
Oh,
that
shit.
is the light version.
Yeah. So
Don't piss them off.
bigots and xenophobe light. Is that what it is?
Mhm.
I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's. I mean, I've spoken to my aging guy who's a Hindu. Yeah, and that's quite interesting. And he has a shrine in his house and stuff. So that's quite interesting. Yeah.
I find the culture behind all that stuff very interesting.
Right.
Yeah.
As one of the guys that I know here personally that I was I was attempting to become a kidney donor for him is Hindu, and he's got a lot of that sort of stuff in the house with the incenses and the shrines and stuff like that, and it's really neat. And his mom, who's quite involved in that sort of stuff too, she was lovely, and she made delicious food when I was there. So yeah, she's a really nice lady, and a lot of them, they carry on it's more of a cultural thing, I think, these days. A lot of Jewish people that I know, it's more of a cultural thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like they consider themselves not really God believers so much, but they still adhere to the cultures and traditions and stuff like that. However, I one of my favorite expressions is tradition's just pleasing dead people that'll never know. So
Yeah. And certainly in India, there's the levels as well. There's some people who are not really bothered, and there are people who are really bothered. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I think you'll find that anywhere you go where there's some form of a belief system, right?
Yeah. But,
yes, Will, you
they
did
don't
hear
kill
me
each
say
other as much. No. And during the time that the British pulled out of India, it was just horrendous. There was just absolute horror massacres of everybody.
Wow.
The British didn't give a shit when we pulled out. We just went, oh, over to you. Bye. See ya.
Take care now. I know that there was a big a culture war of its own kind too. Religious war, like Hindus versus Muslims too. There was a lot of clashes back and forth of that sort of stuff as well.
On the trains now.
Hindus weren't always so peaceful.
Well, Islam either, right? They were trying to enforce their rule over there, and the Hindus were fighting back, basically.
They ain't no bitches.
It's quite strange now because there's lots of Muslims in India, and in what's called partition, when basically all the Muslims were supposed to go to Pakistan, and all the Hindus were supposed to go to what is now India. But now there's loads of Muslims in India, which is
for sure
quite weird. But it's a strange place. Yeah.
I've yet to go there. My Aunt Shelley has been there a couple of times, and she says it's just amazing. She goes, when you're there, you can just sort of you become awash in the cultures and stuff like that. And if you find the right people, they'll take you around to the places that aren't touristy, and you can get you feel what India's really about, rather than the stuff that they kind of just push in your face when you get off the plane, sort of thing. So she says that's the best way to do it. She has all kinds of homemade jewelry from little girls that sit, in there, and they live far away from the cities, but then they take all their wares to the city to sell them to tourists and stuff like that. She said, but she had some real authentic stuff that they make that the tourists don't get. So that was pretty cool.
That's nice. The food's decent, but obviously there's certain challenges like toilets.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and trains. You probably heard in the news. There's been a massive accident today.
Yes.
I've been on the trains there. Yeah.
Luckily, yours didn't have anything go awry, I guess.
Yeah. But obviously, that affected me quite heavily, that news story, because I've been on trains in India. So yeah.
So nowadays, do you still have like people in your family that kind of cling to that sort of spiritualism or religious sort of stuff that try to sort of kind of pull you back into it, maybe? Or
well, yeah. Well, my stepmother, who's a lovely person, don't get me wrong, but she met my father through the spiritualism. I mean, she was his third wife. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, when he died, about 3 months later, she came to me and said that he's worried about. She had a message from some medium, and that he's worried about me.
Oh,
yeah, okay. Well,
so, I'm sure he is.
I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm not interested. But yeah, that's the only one. Yeah, my brother and sister and stuff. My mother used to be. Obviously, my mother was very, very attentive to my father. So anything he did, she would do, basically. So she went with it, but she's now nearly atheist. She still believes there might be something, but she's very close. But it's because she just does what I tell her now instead of my father. So,
well, that sounds almost like an agnostic flavor, because I mean, even some atheists will sit around and go, "Well, yeah, there might be something, but we really don't have any good evidence to push us that far, saying, oh, there's something there," right? So I don't.
Yeah,
I'm a hard atheist. So
how do you?
I'm like, no, yeah, right. I mean, well, sometimes you can, apparently, according to mathematics, but I'm a hard atheist. I'm almost 100% sure that there's nothing out there, because if there were, things would be a lot different.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. So I'm like, on that Dawkins scale he did, you're right at the end. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a 7 on that scale.
Yeah. But if people believe, as long as they don't shove their beliefs down my throat, then see, England is much easier to live with than the US, obviously.
Oh yeah.
It's basically religion is dying. I mean, really dying.
Mm-hmm.
So many churches are just being turned into houses and stuff. But if you look at the mad, insane coronation we had, then you go, oh, hang on, there is still some Christians about.
Oh yeah, and I think I don't think religion will really ever go anywhere. I think there'll be some form of it for as long as humans exist, because it's almost as if we're genetically encoded to have this sort of belief as at least I think, anyways, in the original form, it was some form of survival tactic.
Yeah.
Of some kind, right? So
because life's shit, and then there's one way of dealing with it. Yeah.
Right, and some people realized this and took advantage of this to take advantage of other people.
Yep, absolutely.
Right. So,
absolutely.
I always say, God is a scam. Don't be a victim.
Yeah, and there's research. I always tell on Twitter and stuff. It's like research your subject, and because most Christians don't know their subject, they don't know the mythology behind the Old Testament, which there's a lot of mythology.
Oh yeah, I grew up with that shit.
Yeah. So Asherah and all that, his wife and his father.
Asherah,
and you go, hang on, So when was it? So then it was mythology, but now it isn't. So when did it change?
When did that happen?
Yeah.
And when did the other gods suddenly not be a thing? Because it says it says, "Let us make man in our image." That's pluralized. So since when is God the only one now? Like there were multiple. There was a pantheon, apparently, of them, even in the Judaic beliefs in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because they stole the shit from everyone around them, right?
Yeah, of course. And there was loads of gods in that. Yeah.
They borrowed it, Neil.
No, stole.
Ishtar, my favorite, because she's a Babylonian saint. So she's my favorite one.
I remember that nonsense that came out about Easter being all about Ishtar. It's like, no, people. He's not my friend, but I have yet to actually meet him. But Dan, what's his last name, McClellan, I think, or something. He does a TikTok where people will say something, make a statement about religion or the Bible or whatever, and he'll be like, "Okay, let's see it," and then they spout their piece. And he's a scholar; he's a biblical scholar. So, and then he'll get, no, actually what this is this and this and this and this. And he'll go through the whole reality of where they get all their stuff from. And he did a thing on the whole Ishtar being Easter and stuff like that. So
yeah.
kind of interesting. Yeah, he's great.
We have a wonderful professor in Exeter University in the UK called Francesca, and her surname's a nightmare. It's like Stavropoulou. She's Greek origin.
Mm-hmm.
She's written a book called The Anatomy of God, and she is super special, super special. She's done documentaries and stuff, and she's an atheist, but she knows everything.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she's very 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 good. So,
I think you'll have to give me the name again at some point, like maybe copy paste it from somewhere and send it to me.
Yeah. There's
her
Twitter handle is @Prof Francesca, so that's quite easy.
Oh, okay. Because I'd like to check out some of that stuff for sure.
Yeah, she's very good. And I'm slowly reading her books. There's some huge books she's got about the anatomy. Basically, she starts with like the feet and the legs and the arms and the penis, because obviously Yahweh had a very large one.
You got to reel it in like a fire hose, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's been fucking billions of people for this long. He must.
Yeah.
I want to know
Actually,
his DNA though. Yeah, what's his DNA?
Yeah. I don't know. Does he have a belly button? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Better
funny.
not.
Adam and Eve. In every depiction of Adam and Eve, they have belly buttons. It's
Yeah.
like, well, why did they have belly buttons?
Yeah.
If they were made out of dirt, what the hell was the use of an umbilical cord?
Yeah.
That's where the
Adam's
dirt
first wife as well.
was. It was umbilical of dirt, clearly.
Yeah. Maybe.
And that's why we use carbon in our bodies to make it today. There you go.
Right.
Right, okay.
Oh, this religion stuff's easy.
Yeah,
make it up.
Apologist.
Yeah.
Just make this shit right up.
Yep, that's what they've been doing. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay.
It's the penis again.
Yeah.
Francesca, there we go. That's the one. Tons of mice found it there.
Yes, that's her. You see, that's a bit
Stavropoulou.
different, isn't it? With the with how do you say her surname? Yeah.
Stavropoulou.
Yeah, I'm not good, but she's an amazing woman. So yeah, everybody go and buy a book.
Never heard of her. I definitely will check that out for sure.
She's done some television programs about things like showing that Moses didn't exist, and you know, and David was maybe it was a little piece of pottery, maybe, and stuff.
But I thought he felled a giant, didn't he?
Yeah, Goliath.
Yeah. Goliath.
I loved the Old Testament when I was a little child, because I had to go to I went to the Church of England primary school, so which is linked to a church.
Of course.
Yeah. So, and I love the Old Testament stories. Fabulous. Samson especially.
Yeah.
But he was thick.
No one's allowed to cut my hair.
Yeah.
Can relate.
Yeah. But senior school at my high school, this is interesting. We were all taught sex by the religious studies teacher. An old
That's
man.
awkward.
That's like a contradiction.
Yep. That's the way it was done.
Here's what you won't be doing.
Yeah. You don't want to kiss anyone, you might get pregnant.
Yeah.
Not again.
I've heard that, so I don't know. We did the sex education. Well, if you did it in school too, and you were at a private school that was religious, obviously you're going to have religious sort of teachers teaching that stuff. I was in a standard secularish school, and we did our. This was elementary school. I think grade 6 and 7. We had the sex talks and stuff like that, and we had experts come in and watch little films and stuff like that about going into puberty, and you're going to have urges, and you should try to refrain from it unless you're with someone that you care about, or yada yada. See, they didn't even throw in the you shouldn't have sex before marriage stuff, right? That just here in Canada they're like, hey, yeah, go for it. It's like, go for it, but make sure it's with somebody you care about, right? And it's consensual. Even back then they were still about it being consensual, which I thought was pretty cool. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh no, we had none of that. No, it was not biology at all. It was religious studies. And none of us believed it. because it was boys' school. We were like, "What? My mother would never allow my father to do that."
Impossible.
That kind of reminds me of a joke where the little boy walks in and he sees his parents going at it. His dad's, up on top of mom and stuff, and they're going at it. And
no!
It's like, he goes, "What are you doing?" They're kind of stumped. They don't know what to say. And they go, Dad goes, "Oh, well, we're making babies." And well, you remember when we saw those two dogs doing this the other day? Why don't you turn mom over? I want puppies.
Oh,
Because he said that. I guess I fucked the joke up because I'm an idiot.
Ugh, so bad.
I know.
So bad.
I know. He saw the dogs going at it. He said, "What are they doing, Dad?" He says, "Oh, they're making puppies." And then he catches his parents and he says, "Turn her over. I want puppies." Yeah.
My
I
friend
screwed the joke up. Sorry.
My friend's dog just had puppies, and Kristen just told me no. I'm pouting for the rest of the day.
You've already got a dog.
He needs a friend. The cats won't play with him.
cats.
Now we got the baby. He's got no one to play with until the baby can play. So a puppy will be
give
perfect.
him time.
Puppy. I have a
Brand
dog.
new
Yeah.
puppy.
Yeah. But I'm not a cat person though, because they kill wildlife, you say. So.
Yeah, they certainly can.
Oh.
Yeah, no, tons of mice. I am far from being a comedy club star. I screwed that joke up big time.
Yeah.
He tried. At least
I
he
got-
didn't take the
Dead
grandma
babies.
turn.
Twitter got famous for me because of the. I don't know if you know. If you probably heard of the Bataclan Theatre, which was in Paris, and Muslim terrorists went and basically machine gunned people.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's when I thought I can't do anything really, but I'll just get a little more active on Twitter, and from then it's taken off. Yeah. But
that was horrifying. And this is one of the reasons that religion needs to be sort of toned down. I mean, I don't know. It's such a big topic that you can't even really tackle because there's always going to be fanatics of every stripe.
yeah,
Right? You're going to have them of every stripe, and they're going to be. Some of them are going to be dangerous, and some of them are going to be out to harm people because they don't fit in their mold of what they think is good and true or whatever. But yeah, and it's scary. It's scary when you get people out there that have no problem just going out there and mowing people down or killing people in general, that's fucking scary. So,
and they think they're doing good. That is,
Yes.
for me, that's the real scary thing.
yes,
They like the 9/11 pilots. They thought they were doing good.
Yeah.
That is so sick.
that's what's so scary.
Yeah.
It falls into that whole thing. Well, like when you question, like when religious people ask, well, where do you get your morals? And I'm like, not from the fucking same place you do, because clearly, right? Because you have no
Well-
problem wiping out other people that don't believe what you believe. And if you didn't have God, would you suddenly become a rapist and a murderer and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Would you be that bad? Because if you need to have a deity for a moral compass, then you're a bad person to start with.
If you need guardrails for just
Yeah.
living, there's a problem.
I rape as many people as I want to, which is zero. Yeah.
Which
That's
is
Ben
not.
Gillette said that.
And,
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder how much he would charge me to come on the show, because I'd love to have him on the show.
Oh, okay, brilliant. That is fantastic.
Because Teller doesn't actually speak, so it'd be me asking him questions and him staring out at the screen. So
That's true. Yeah.
no, he does actually speak. I've actually seen him speak and stuff like that. But it's funny. I don't know if you were a fan of what was it, The Big Bang Theory? Where he played the dad of, and every time he was about to answer, the wife would cut in and cut him off, just like the old days, like when he was Teller, which is so funny.
Yeah.
So, what do you these days? Do you? Because you had mentioned, I think you were mentioning that you like to try to put seeds of doubt in the minds of the faithful.
That's a nice wind up on my pinned tweet. Yes. So,
Yes.
Yes, that's sort of
That's where I
draws
stole that
people
from.
to me. So, basically,
Tell us a little bit about how you do that. Like, what's the sort of things that you do when you have these conversations?
Well, it's
with believers?
it's mainly what we all do, which is like, do you know the Bible that well?
Mhm.
And yeah, I go back to some of the stuff that Francesca that on the early stuff of the Old Testament, but a lot of Christians obviously don't agree with the Old Testament. They just go, no, it's just Jesus. It's just Jesus. That's all we care about. And you go, no, because you have to then go, well, why was Jesus there? Yeah, and trying to explain to people that vicarious sacrifice, is just sick. It's just sick.
Yes, it is.
The whole idea of Christianity. That's why, for me, I upset a lot of people on Twitter because I think Christianity is worse than Islam, because Islam doesn't have that vicarious redemption. Which for me is a really sick idea. But yeah, it's just going through logic with them. We're doing the Matt Dillahunty tricks. But talking to people nicely as well, courteously.
Of course, you want to keep
the way to do it. Yeah,
the conversation good and fluid, right? Like you don't want it to
quite
get
often
all heated into dumpster fire.
Well, I have quite a lot of followers, not crazy amounts, 4,500 something, which is enough. But
that's good.
Obviously, a lot of people jump when I say something. Because I basically look for people who are like either dissing atheism or have said things which are obviously wrong when it comes to their own religion, and then slightly try to educate them, and then they jump. Mostly they jump, but then slowly. I've got some good people following me who are again quite good philosophers and theologians as well, which they go in as well. So I'm not really a troll, but some people say.
Aren't trolls professional and being paid to do it though?
Yeah, exactly. I'm not paid to do it. No, I do it for love.
Ask me how shocked I was when on Facebook. I don't really even use Facebook that much, but Lawrence Krauss followed me on Facebook. I'm like, what?
Wow,
your new best friend.
And people are like, oh yeah, you sure it's the real one? I'm like, yeah, I'm sure, because it's his account. It's him.
He's a good scientist. He
had some controversial shit go on in the past, though. But
but again, we don't have to agree with everything somebody says. I have this with like Sam Harris as well. He has some good shit, but then
early on.
But we don't have to. Sure. Yeah, we don't have to accept everything.
Don't have to accept. Yeah, that's a better way to put it. We don't have to accept some of their behaviors for sure.
Well, but they've done a lot. Christopher Hitchens was, is my hero. But he has some bloody strange ideas politically as well. But
sure he did. Yeah.
He gets away with it a lot more. Well, maybe because he's dead. I don't know. But compared to some of the others,
it'd be a lot harder to argue with him now.
But you just put somebody and show them some Christopher Hitchens videos. That's cool because he destroys people.
I always close out these shows with one of his quotes too. So
yeah,
I close out this show with one of his quotes because he was definitely, regardless of some of the shit takes that he had, Hitchens was a pretty smart guy and he was a hell of a debater, and so I admire him for that sort of stuff. So same with Carl Sagan, I don't really think had too much controversial ever happened in his life. That I can think of off the top of my
That was his only crime.
He didn't.
He did sound like Kermit.
What?
Dude.
What are you smoking?
I will pull up a hit. Dude, he sounds like Kermit the Frog. I thought
with a deeper voice, maybe?
I'll have to listen to him again.
You'll never be able to unhear it now. Sorry, I ruined that for you. Okay. But you're like, oh my God, it is Kermit. You can just see him in his little Action News trench coat talking to you about the space.
Yeah. I always thought Peterson sounded like Kermit the Frog, but
he's gone nutty as well again, isn't it? I saw Peterson? In London. I saw Peterson against Sam Harris in discussion. It was amazing. There was like, I don't know, 15,000 people there, and most of them were young. It was quite positive to actually see that people cared to see that.
Yeah. For sure. I think these newer generations are tired of nonsense being pushed down our throats, and they want to sort of find their way through to what's real and what's true, right? Through all the garbage that's even to this day is still being posted out there. There's some controversy now about YouTube allowing pseudoscientific stuff being passed off as truth, and they're not going to clamp down on any of it because of free speech, which I get. But when it comes to a point where this stuff has the potential to cause harm to people, they need to clamp down on that type of stuff.
And they say it's not their responsibility. Their responsibility is to make money. So that's y'all's responsibility to be moral.
Yeah. Or to be a better decipher, I guess, of what's real and what isn't.
It's critical thinking is not really taught properly at school as well. And I think that with especially with AI coming, that's really important.
They should make you watch a critical thinking video in its entirety, like an unskippable ad before you watch the pseudoscience. Like there's like a 3-minute unskippable.
That's what I was saying. Yes.
Yeah, unskippable. Okay. So what you're
like a caveat video beforehand.
Yeah. This is not true. And then they can't skip it. Like if you get flagged for pseudoscience, you have to have the disclaimer.
It's like on Twitter.
Where
somebody posts something, they have that here's the context and yada. And they have that on there. And they do that for some of the stuff on Facebook now too, I've noticed. So
well then all my
things
videos
are starting to improve.
All my videos, like when I'm streaming games and stuff, where I'm like #1 sniper in the world, they'll just like block me. Just put up, like he's actually ranked 2 million.
Yeah, exactly.
His KD ratio is negative AF.
Yeah. Disclaimer, yes, that's Pragmatic Crystal. Yes, that's perfect. YouTube could initiate a disclaimer for those types of videos.
And people really wouldn't have anywhere else to go. They'd have to accept it.
Yeah.
Would it go Rumble? Post it on Truth Social. You still need a video press. with pipes and chains.
I like this. An unskippable ad for Curiosity Stream video on Logic.
Yeah, there you go.
I subscribe to Curiosity, actually. I have it on my Roku TV here. I just watched a whole bunch of stuff on there. It's great stuff. Yeah. Curiosity Stream has the stuff that I'm thinking, like the Discovery and Knowledge Network and stuff like that were supposed to be. Like actually teaching you things.
They used to be, but now, I mean, like, good luck trying to see an animal on Animal Planet.
Right.
Like,
or history on history on the Ancient Aliens channel.
Yeah. Good luck finding anything older than 2 weeks on the History Channel nowadays, because there's nothing. It's all about wacky stuff or building houses. I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, what? Just I thought
I don't mind the building stuff. That's kind of cool.
It's not even like they go through the engineering, but it's just like, oh, let's flip a house. I'm like, what the fuck is this? This isn't knowledge based. This is you selling shit. But get your ass on the Home and Garden channel. Fight it out over there.
Yeah, or Home Improvement channel.
Yeah, get out of here. Get out of here.
Well, before we close this out and get into an after party, Paul, Mikey and I like to ask our guests one question before we close out these shows, and I usually let Mikey, because he's much more eloquent when it comes to this sort of questioning. So,
no pressure.
Go ahead.
I will not stumble on my Carl Sagan. Damn it!
I got you.
No. So, if you could go back in time and talk to your past believer self, what advice would you give them?
Research. Actually, look, which is what I did. As you know, I've got a lot of science thought in me. I think there's certain people have different ways of thinking. I really think that, and people who go into science have logical thoughts, and just to look at it logically, is this possible? What is your father doing? Is this real? Why are you being pushed this? Research the Bible, research behind it. That's what I say to all Christians and to all Muslims. I say, look, research the Quran, of course. Yeah. And if you do that properly with an open mind, then you find your way to atheism.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that expression where I became an atheist after I read the scriptures.
Number one deconversion tool, the Bible.
Read Ezekiel. Ezekiel is one. I mean, that is a sick book. I mean,
yes.
Anybody can read that and go, "Oh, it's a loving God," then and Job as well, But
yeah. Oh, there's
as soon
stuff
as they
in
tell
Numbers and Deuteronomy, and there's just all kinds of horrifying shit in there.
The guys who like that, you just kind of slowly keep eye contact with them. Just start working your way towards the door. Maybe slide the chair in front of you. You might need to use it to keep them off of you because they are
Start backing away, waving one of these. Okay, here we go.
Yeah, throw a red flag out the window for a distraction.
Yeah.
They're predators. Their vision's based on movement.
Yeah. Well, Canada's okay, isn't it? Canada's sort of, it's nearly European, isn't it? With it, there are pretty evangelicals there, though, isn't there?
Well, we have our share. Yes, of course. I mean, look what's happening in Alberta. They keep voting for that fucking moron conservative chicken that's the premier again. She won barely, but she still won, and they've got some issues over there. Alberta's Canada's Texas, basically.
Yeah.
Texas / Florida. They're kind of our where we get a lot of the wacky conservative people there, the extremists and stuff like that.
Oh, you mean the Americans that go up to Canada?
Yeah, a lot of them live in Alberta because that's where the oil is.
Yeah. Well, my uncle lived in Calgary, and he was vice president of the oil company. So,
yeah, not surprising.
Big money.
Oh yeah. I was just in Calgary a few weeks back, over at the Week in Reason convention, and Aaron Raw and I went and toured the dinosaur museum there, the Royal Tyrrell museum there, and we filmed the whole thing and had Aaron explaining different things and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun, and I kind of pieced it together with I think I used Windows Movie Maker, which is like an old program that I used to use for my Yu-Gi-Oh games and stuff like that I would play. But and I did up a little video and threw it out there for people to watch, and it got some good responses. So it's a lot of fun to do, and hanging out with Aaron is always a fun time.
Amazing guy.
Yeah, he is. And it was funny because when I got there, Lalandra, Aaron's wife, was like, "Fuck." He's like, "When's Neil here? When's Neil here? When's Neil here?" Because I've hung out with him many times down in Texas and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, because we've been talking before going. It's like, oh, I'm looking forward to this, man. I haven't seen you in a while. Yeah. We're gonna have some great beers and stuff like that. And of course, we couldn't find any decent beer in Alberta, but we found some darker beers like he likes, but nothing that had the alcohol percentage that he likes, like, which is like 12-13% beers, right? So I'm like, fuck, that's like wine at that percentage.
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Yeah.
But we still had a good time.
Cool. We have good beer here. I've been in Germany, and that's got very good beer. Very, very good beer.
Yes. Yeah. So unlike Aaron, I actually don't mind other beers that aren't like, blacker than black. Like, I like good beers, and they don't have to be higher or lower ABV. I'll drink Guinness. I like the flavor of Guinness. And, Newcastle is good. I like a lot of porters where they have the chocolate porters and stuff like that. They're really tasty. See, for me, it's more about the flavor of it than the alcohol percent. But I can't even drink now anyways because of the blood clots medication that I'm on, the anticoagulants, right? So I can't drink. And the worst part of it is that still kind of makes me mad because I was an avid blood donor. I can no longer donate blood. And that really, really hurt. That was the one I think that was the most painful sting out of everything. I don't mind giving up the only being able to have the occasional beer now and again, but I can't drink my scotch. I can't drink my single malt really expensive scotch, which sucks. But
you know what, Neil? I will take that off your hands.
Yeah.
And,
I don't know if I can bring it with me.
Dispose of it for you.
I have a half a bottle of the Macallan still, so
nice.
It's a business expense.
Takes money, if you keep Macallan in the cupboard for 10 years, it's seriously expensive.
Yeah. It was this bottle. It was a smaller bottle too, and I think it was $90-something. I think for a smaller bottle.
Yeah,
about $7 American.
Yeah, that's right. It's 98 cents.
Pounds, I don't know anymore. But, since Brexit and the insanity we have had here. So.
Mark, I cannot donate blood, and it's not because of the blood clots. It's because of the medication I'm on to prevent the blood clots. It's an anticoagulant.
Yeah.
They're often called blood thinners, but that's a misnomer because they don't thin your blood. They just keep your blood from coagulating, whereas alcohol does thin your blood. So that's why they don't like you to mix the two. Right? So
that's fine.
Yeah. Well. Mike's like, more beer for me.
If I must.
Yeah. But
Job is never done.
Paul, what do you say we'll take a little bit of a break in between the two shows, but we're going to do the after party, so you can do a little bio break, and then you can jump in with us and meet some of the other members of our wonderful community.
Yeah, of course.
And you can stay for as long as you want, and then bail, because I know it's a lot later there for you than it is for me here. However,
Sure.
I do have some plans this afternoon because I knew we were doing an early show, so I made some plans a little bit later on.
Cool.
At about 3:00, I got to bail, so we're going to be hanging out for a little bit there, about an hour and a half or so after the show. No, I mean, we'll hang out for an hour and a half and maybe about 20 minutes, a bit of a break in between. So clarity is everything.
Hey, Neil, that bottle of Macallan is 53 pound 84 pence.
Yes.
Is it the blue one, the blue box?
Yes, I converted it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, sure.
It depends if it's normally they're really boring bottles, Scotch whiskey. But if you go to an airport, you'll get all these trendy coloured ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
With lasers and
yeah, it's just boring. But
sparkles in it.
Yeah.
Aw.
There's one that had a
Thank you,
bottle,
Spooky.
and the bottle, if you put it in the freezer, it gave different pictures on the bottle and stuff. It was very weird.
It's a lot.
Thank you, Spooky. That means a lot. And actually, I the one time I think that I had a little incident that really blew me away is I was walking into 7-Eleven. This is after I'd been on TV for talking about starting up the Partners for Life group to honor my dad's donations that he made in his lifetime. And the little lady kind of tugged on my shirt, and I was like, "Oh yeah, hi, what's up?" And she's like, "Are you the gentleman that I just saw on the news the other day?" And I was like, "You mean with the blood stuff?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like,
no,
"Yeah,
the
that was
high
me."
speed chase.
Yeah. and she was like, "Well, I just wanted to say thank you because of people like you. I got 5 extra years with my husband." And she goes, "You mind if I hug you?" And I was like, "Oh my goodness." So I gave her a hug, and that was a pretty touching moment and it just goes to show that doing stuff like that does help people for sure. So thanks, Spooky. That means a lot to me. We're going to wrap this up, guys, and get into the after party. I don't know if I told you guys, but last night I did our first live on TikTok of our jam session.
Oh, cool.
And I don't know. I've sort of heard the playback from it, and the sound is. We'll have to work on lowering my vocals and bringing up the other guys a little bit, because all you can really hear is my horrible voice last night and the drums. That's all you can really hear. So and the guitar and
Sounds
and
about
bass
right.
kind of got drowned out in the background. So we'll have to work on the mix, and then we'll do it again. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to do it for a while because our lead guitar player Chris is going in for his colon cancer surgery. So he's going to be away for quite some time before he'll be back in to play with us. So until he gets back, we'll do some after he gets back. So everyone cross your fingers and hope for Chris to have a successful surgery. I've known 2 other people that have had this exact surgery, and they survived it and are still going strong, and they've gone back for every year they go back to see if anything has come back, and they've all been pretty good. So it's awesome. So we're looking forward to Chris pulling through this and getting back behind the guitar and making some more noise with us. Anyways, guys, thanks for hanging out with us over there on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube here. And we appreciate you guys coming and supporting the show. Also, thanks to our wonderful patrons and our members. And if you'd like to be either one of those, there are ways to do so. Just look below the screen there, and you'll see the join button. And you'll also have a link to the Patreon if you want to become a patron and support us further. All the money is being raised for the show, including super chats and stuff like that, will be going to this gentleman right here, because raising kids ain't cheap. And I don't have any kids, so I really don't need the extra cash for the time being. So we're going to raise the money for Mikey to do some stuff with his little girl and just make life a little bit smoother. And if you just want to hang out in the chat and watch the after party, there's a link to it below in the description box. You can check that out. And we're going to get going probably maybe a little bit closer to 1:30. So, and being 9:30 for Paul over there. And you guys can do the math on the time zones. And we'll hang out for a little while and have some more fun. So until then, guys, like I always say at the end of the interviews, like the late, great Christopher Hitchens once said, it's called faith because it's not knowledge. And we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.